The canyon smelled like rust and old heat. Ren Vale had been crouching beside his broken surveying device for about 10 minutes, trying to decide if the capacitor was dead or just loose when he heard the sound. It was not wind. Wind in the Veth IV canyons had a thin, whistling quality, like air pushed through a bone. This was different. This was something large trying very hard to breathe quietly. He did not stand up fast. He did not reach for the emergency flare in his vest pocket. He just stayed crouched, set the surveying device down carefully on the red rock, and listened. The sound came from the collapsed section of the ravine wall about 40 meters to his left. A rockslide had come through there recently, maybe 2 days ago, judging by the dust still settling on the upper edges. Something was behind it, something that breathed in long, controlled pulls, the way a creature breathes when every breath hurts and it knows that panic will make things worse. Ren had spent 11 years training wilderness survival on 4 different planets. He knew that breathing pattern. It was the breathing of something that had already decided it might die and was simply choosing not to yet. He walked toward it slowly. The first thing he saw was the wing. It came out from behind the collapsed rock like a torn sail, dark, leathery, the span of it wider than he was tall. The membrane had a long split running diagonally from the upper joint down toward the tip, and the joint itself sat at an angle that made Ren's own shoulder ache just looking at it. Dislocated, maybe. Fractured, more likely. He moved around the side of the rockfall and saw the rest of her. She was enormous, 8 meters from nose to tail, maybe more. Her scales were deep blue-black, the color of a sky just before full dark, and several of them along her left flank were cracked or missing entirely, showing the pale underlayer beneath. Her front left leg was pinned under a slab of red canyon rock that had to weigh 2 tons at minimum. Her head was up, which meant she was conscious. Her eyes, when they found him, were gold and very, very sharp. Ren had read the assembly briefings on the Draviak. Everyone in the Colonial Survey program had too. Apex predators. Uncontactable. 17 systems either avoided or abandoned because of territorial aggression. The briefings used words like insurmountable and incompatible with negotiation. He looked at her and thought. 2 cracked ribs at least, 1 wing destroyed, 1 leg pinned, probable internal bleeding from the flank damage, and she has been here for at least 2 days in direct sun with no water. Then she spoke. The sound was deep and layered, like 2 voices folded together, one low and one higher, both saying the same thing at slightly different moments. His translator chip caught most of it after a half-second delay. "Leave," it rendered, "or I will kill you when I am free." Ren nodded slowly. "Okay," he said, "I hear you." He did not leave. Instead, he walked a slow half-circle around her, keeping 10 meters of distance, looking at the leg, the wing, the flank. She tracked him the entire time. He could hear the effort it cost her to keep her head raised. Her neck muscles were shaking. "The rock on your leg," he said. "Is the leg broken under it or just pinned?" Silence. "I'm asking because it changes what I'd need to do," he said. "If it's just pinned, I might be able to lever it off. If it's broken, moving it wrong could cause more damage." "Why?" she said. Not a question exactly, more like a word she was testing the weight of. "Because you've been here 2 days and you'll be dead in another 2, Ren said. "The temperature drops in these canyons at night. You're already losing blood from the flank. Your wing won't kill you, but the exposure will." She stared at him. The gold eyes did not blink. "You are very small," she said. "Yeah," Ren said. He went back to his pack and started pulling things out. Water container. First aid kit built for humans but adaptable. The small collapsible pry bar he carried for rock sample extraction. A thermal sheet. He laid them on the ground in a row, looking at them, doing the math. "I'm going to make camp," he said, mostly to himself. "Then I'm going to see about that rock before it gets dark." "I told you I would kill you." "I know," Ren said. "You probably will if you recover." He began unfolding the thermal sheet. "But you haven't recovered yet, so I've got some time." She made a sound he could not translate. The chip rendered it as no equivalent. He set up camp 3 meters from her, close enough to work, far enough to not be stupid about it. He filled his small pot from his water supply. He had 4 days' worth, maybe 5 if he was careful, and set it to boil on his field burner. When the water was warm, he poured it slowly into a flat rock depression he found nearby, pushing it toward her with his foot. She did not move toward it, but she looked at it, and something in the rigid set of her neck eased, very slightly, in a way that had nothing to do with threats and nothing to do with pride. Ren sat down on his pack and ate a dry protein bar, and watched the canyon walls turn red in the last of the sun. "I'm Ren," he said. She said nothing. He was not discouraged. She had not killed him yet, which meant tomorrow was still a possibility. He decided tomorrow was enough. On the second morning, the rock was still on her leg. Ren had tried the pry bar twice before dark the night before. The slab was bigger than it looked from above, anchored by its own weight against the ravine floor. He needed either more leverage or more help, and he had neither. So he spent the first real hours of daylight digging away the smaller rubble packed around the edges, freeing up the base, working with the small folding shovel from his kit. Sora watched him the entire time. She had not slept, as far as he could tell. Every time he woke in the night she was still in the same position, head up, eyes open, tracking him with the focused patience of something that had learned long ago not to trust stillness. "You dug," she said, when he stopped to drink some water. "Trying to get the angle right," Ren said. "The bar needs to go under the flat edge here," he pointed. "But there is too much small rock in the way. I need to clear it first." "You were digging in the dark." "Couldn't sleep. Humans cannot see well in the dark." "No," Ren agreed. "I had a lamp." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "You could have gone in the night. I would not have been able to follow." "I know," Ren said. "Then why did you stay?" He thought about it seriously, which she seemed to notice, because she stopped making the low-tension sound that ran under most of her words and simply waited. "Because leaving would not have made you less injured," he said finally. "It just would have made me less useful." She had no answer for that. By midday he had cleared enough rubble to get the pry bar positioned properly. The problem was force. The bar was a half-meter tool designed for splitting rock samples, not moving 2-ton slabs. He needed weight, and he needed it applied at the right angle. He went back to the ravine walls and found 3 stones of manageable size, stacked them carefully behind the bar's handle to extend his leverage, then threw his full body weight against it. The slab moved, not much, maybe 4 centimeters. But it moved. Sora made a sound that the translator did not catch, something short and involuntary, and she pulled her leg. It did not come free. The slab dropped back. "Almost," Ren said, breathing hard. "Again," she said. It took 4 more attempts over 2 hours. On the 5th, the angle was finally right, the leverage finally sufficient, and when the slab shifted, she pulled clean and fast, and the leg came free in a rush of displaced red dust. Ren fell sideways as the bar kicked back and hit the ground hard enough to knock the wind out of him. He lay there for a moment, looking up at the orange-white sky of Veth IV. Her head appeared above him. Enormous, close, the gold eyes looking down at him with an expression he had no framework to read. "You are not dead," she said. "No," Ren agreed, "just winded." "Winded," she repeated, like she was storing the word. He sat up slowly and looked at the leg. Bad. Not broken, which was something, but the tissue around the lower joint was swollen badly, and there was a deep laceration running from the ankle to mid-shin that had been compressed under the rock and was now bleeding freely. He opened his kit. "I need to clean that and wrap it," he said. "The bleeding needs to stop." She pulled the leg back slightly. "You have touched enough." "You'll lose the leg if that doesn't get cleaned," Ren said. "The bacteria in this soil are not friendly." I looked it up last night. You researched my biology in the dark. I researched what I could. The assembly database on Dravic biology is mostly threat assessment notes, not exactly medical. He looked up at her. I'm going to do my best. It might not be right, but doing nothing is worse. A long pause. Then she moved the leg back toward him, not all the way, but enough. He worked carefully, cleaning the wound with the antiseptic from his kit, which was human-grade and possibly useless on Dravic biology, but was at least sterile. He packed the deep part with the wound foam that expanded slightly to fill gaps and slow bleeding. Then he wrapped it with the full roll of his trauma bandage, which barely covered the size of the injury but was better than nothing. She did not make a sound while he worked. When he finished, she looked at the wrapping. The golden eyes moved over it slowly. "You are the slowest prey I have ever seen," she said. Ren looked up. "What?" "You move as if nothing will eat you. You make noise, you take time." She tilted her great head. "It is very strange." "I'm not prey," Ren said. "Everything is prey," she said. "The question is only what hunts it." Ren packed his kit back up. "What hunts you?" he asked. The question seemed to surprise her. The translator gave a half-second gap before she answered. "Nothing," she said, then quieter, "Not yet." That was the first real thing she told him. He stored it carefully. That night she said her name was Sara. She said it the way someone puts down a weapon, carefully, watching to see what the other person does with it. Ren said, "Good to meet you, Sara," and went back to watching the fire. She did not tell him to stop using her name. He took that as permission. On the fourth day, Sara told him she needed to move. Not back to wherever she came from. Not away from him. She needed the mineral flats, a low basin 2 days' travel to the east where the groundwater came up through copper-heavy rock and tasted of salt and iron. Dravic used it for healing. Something in the mineral content helped the fire glands repair. Without it, the glands would scar closed permanently, and a Dravic without working fire glands was a diminished thing in ways that went past the physical. "How far can you walk?" Ren asked. She showed him, about 300 meters before the bad leg made her stop, then rest, then 300 meters more. Ren looked at the distance on his terrain scanner, 41 kilometers to the mineral flats. He did the math, then he packed his camp. The first day was hard. Sara moved at the pace of someone carrying something heavy and invisible. Every third step on the bad leg cost her, and she paid each time without complaint, which Ren found harder to watch than if she had made noise. He matched her pace exactly. When she stopped, he stopped. He did not walk ahead and wait, which he could tell she had expected him to do, because the first time he stopped with her she looked at him with an expression that was almost suspicious. "You do not need to match me," she said. "I know," Ren said. They walked. He rationed his water to half portions and gave her the other half, not telling her that was what he was doing. She figured it out on the second rest stop when she saw how little he drank. "You are giving me your water," she said. "I can find more," Ren said. "You can't with that leg. You are smaller, you need it more relatively." "Relatively," Ren repeated, a little surprised by the word. "Where did you learn that one?" "I have been listening to your translator Chip render my speech for 3 days, Sara said. "I am learning your patterns." Ren looked at her. "You're picking up Galactic Standard just from listening." "The shapes of it," she said. "Your language is very short. You say small things and expect them to carry large weight." "Yeah," Ren said, "we do." They moved again. On the first night, camped in the shallow shelter of a rock formation, Sara asked him about Earth. Not the data file version of Earth that the assembly kept. She had clearly read those. She wanted to know what it was like to be small on a planet that was actively trying to kill you. "The animals there," she said, "many of them are dangerous to your kind." "Most of them," Ren said. "And yet you are the dominant species." "We're stubborn," Ren said, and we're bad at accepting when something is bigger than us. She was quiet a moment. On my world the strong take and the weak yield. It is simply true. I do not say it with pleasure. It is the shape of things. On mine too, Ren said. Except we kept inventing ways around it. Tools, fire, working together when we had no business surviving alone. You work together with strangers. Mostly, Ren said. Sometimes we're terrible at it, but when we manage it, yeah. Sora looked at the fire. The gold eyes reflected it in two small points. On my world, you do not survive by trusting what you do not know. On mine, Ren said, you sometimes don't survive without it. She turned that over for a long time. The second day was harder. Her leg had stiffened overnight and the first kilometer was very slow. Ren found a piece of flat canyon wood from a dead scrub tree and fashioned a rough support bar she could lean on, which she refused for the first hour and then used without comment for the rest of the day. During a long rest stop in the afternoon heat, she told him about the crash, not mechanical failure. Something had pulled the systems down from outside. She had made it to Veth IV but not to a landing. The ship was somewhere deeper in the canyon system, buried. She did not know who had done it. She did not know why. You're worried it will happen again, Ren said. I am being hunted, she said. I do not know by what. That is not a comfortable thing. No, Ren said, it isn't. You do not ask who would want to hunt me. Ren shrugged. That's your business, I'm just helping you walk. She looked at him for a long moment. The translator Chip stayed silent. Whatever she was thinking, she did not try to put it into words. She just got up and started walking again. They reached the mineral flats at dusk on the 7th day. The basin was broad and pale, crusted white at the edges and dark wet at the center where the water rose. Sora walked straight in and drank for a long time. Ren sat at the edge and took his boots off. The soles had worn through on the right foot. He had not noticed until now. When Sora finally raised her head, she looked different, less pressed down, less like something burning from the inside. Better? Ren asked. Yes, she said, and then because she was Sora, your footwear is destroyed. Yep, Ren said. You walked on damaged footwear for 2 days without mentioning it. You walked on a damaged leg for 2 days without complaining, Ren said. Seemed fair. She was quiet. Then she made a sound the translator rendered after a long pause as something close to, I see you. Ren put his socks back on and started looking for flat ground to camp on. The scout drone found them on the 10th day. Ren heard its engine before he saw it, a small, flat disc about the size of a dinner plate, painted in the gray-green of the Colonial Survey Authority. It came over the lip of the mineral basin, hovered, and then stopped moving entirely. He knew what it was seeing. A human male sitting cross-legged on pale rock, eating a protein bar. Beside him, close enough to touch, a Draviac apex predator the length of a shuttle craft, currently using her good wing as a windbreak and watching the drone with the focused attention of something deciding whether it was worth eating. Ren waved at the drone. It retreated fast. Lieutenant Barrow arrived personally the next morning with 6 soldiers in light gear and 2 medics who had absolutely no idea what they were going to be dealing with. They came over the basin ridge in a line and stopped when they saw the scene below them. Ren heard the weapon safeties disengage from 40 meters away. He stood up. Nobody needs to point anything at anyone, he said. Sora did not move, but she raised her head. The gold eyes went across the line of soldiers the way a hand goes across a table, measuring, assessing, dismissing. Vale, said the lieutenant, coming down slowly. He was a compact man with a careful face and the practiced stillness of someone trained not to react. He was reacting. This is your delay. Yes, Ren said. You have been camping with a Draviac for 10 days. She was injured, Ren said. Leg, wing, fire glands. She is doing better now. Barrow looked at Sora. Sora looked at Barrow. It was not a friendly look, but it was not an aggressive one either. More like the look of someone who has decided to wait before making a decision. "She speaks," Barrow said very quietly. "Very well," Wren said, "and she has good hearing." Barrow processed this. Then he straightened, turned to his soldiers and said, "Weapons down, nobody does anything." He turned back to Wren. "You understand this is going to cause problems." "I know," Wren said. "The assembly relay is already signaling. There are 3 diplomatic officers trying to reach this outpost. A Draviak on a colonial world, alive, unrestrained." "She restrained herself," Wren said. "She chose to stay." Barrow looked at Sora again. Something in his expression shifted, not relaxing exactly, but moving from alarm toward something more like careful curiosity. "Can I?" he started. "Not yet," Wren said. "Let her decide." There was a silence. Then Sora spoke. The translator chip rendered it cleanly because she had been adjusting her speech toward galactic standard patterns for 3 days. "The one with the careful face," she said. "He is the authority here." "Yes," Wren said. "Tell him I do not want his weapons or his medics," she said. "Tell him the one thing I want is for whoever brought my ship down to be found. And tell him that Ren Vale is not to be separated from me while I am in this place." Wren told him. Barrow listened without expression. Then he nodded once, the short nod of a man who has decided to deal with something that does not fit any briefing he has ever received. He sent the soldiers back up the ridge. He kept the medics at a distance. He sat down on a rock and opened a field ration and started eating, and after a while Wren sat back down too. "The assembly speaker wants the situation contained," Barrow said. "Sora is not a situation," Wren said. "No," Barrow agreed, looking at her. "She is not." He was quiet a moment. "What do you need?" "Food," Wren said. "My boots are gone, and somewhere to stay that isn't the mineral flats. Her wing needs to be out of the wind while it heals." "I can do that," Barrow said. What followed was strange and quiet. Barrow found a large outer equipment yard at the edge of the outpost, open enough for Sora to move, sheltered enough to block the canyon winds. His engineers were told not to ask questions. The cook, a short woman named Petra, spent 40 minutes researching Draviak metabolism and produced, on her second attempt, something Sora ate without complaint. Petra considered this a professional triumph. The soldiers kept their distance, but they watched. All of them watched, not with fear or not just fear, with the particular attention humans give to things they have never seen before and do not have words for yet. On the 3rd evening in the yard, one of the younger soldiers came to Wren quietly while Sora was sleeping. His name was Diav, barely 20, with the look of someone who had joined the service because it seemed like an adventure and was now revising that opinion rapidly. "She talks," Diav said. "I mean really talks, not just noises." "Yes," Wren said. "What does she talk about?" Wren considered the past 10 days, the conversations at night in the canyon, Sora asking what humans fear, Wren asking why the Draviak never tried to communicate, both of them sitting with the gap between their kinds and finding it smaller than either had expected. "Everything," Wren said. Diav stared at the sleeping dragon. "How did you know she wouldn't just kill you?" "I didn't," Wren said. Diav went quiet then, "But you helped her anyway." "Yeah," Wren said. "Someone had to." Diav went back to his post. Wren sat with the fire and listened to Sora breathe, and watched the outpost lights come on one by one against the dark red of the Veth IV night. 300 light-years away, a diplomatic emergency was being declared. Nobody told Wren. He would not have changed anything. The Draviak ship entered the system on the 14th day, and the outpost nearly went to full alert before Barrow put his hand flat on the communications panel and told everyone to wait. It was not weapons hot. That was the detail that stopped the alarm. Every assembly protocol on Draviak contact listed weapons hot as the default state for any Draviak vessel within sensor range. This ship was running dark and slow with its weapons in passive configuration, which meant either a technical malfunction or an intentional choice, and both options were unprecedented enough that Barrow simply stood in the communications room for 30 seconds saying nothing. Wren was with Sora in the yard when the shadow of the ship passed overhead. She looked up at it without surprise. "You knew they were coming," Wren said. "I sent a signal from your communications equipment 3 days ago," she said. "I should have told you. I apologize." Wren blinked. That was the first time she had apologized for anything. He was not sure she had ever done it before in her life, by the way it sat in her mouth. "It is fine," he said. "Your lieutenant will not think so." "He will manage," Wren said. One figure came down from the ship. Not a soldier, not a diplomat in the political sense. He was old, visibly old in the way that very large things get old, slower, denser, like the weight of years had added to him rather than taken away. His scales were pale at the edges and had the dull finish of age. He moved with the careful deliberateness of someone who had stopped needing to prove anything to anyone. Sora lowered her head to him, not all the way, but low enough to mean something. He spoke to her for a long time in Draviak with no translator. Wren stayed at the far end of the yard and let it happen. Barrow appeared at the gate, took one look at the old Draviak, and silently positioned himself next to Wren without being asked. "Who is he?" Barrow said very quietly. "I don't know yet," Wren said. Eventually, the old Draviak turned and looked at Wren. He crossed the yard in the unhurried way of someone who had already decided what this meeting was. When he stopped, he was close enough that Wren had to tilt his head back to look at his face. "I am Das," he said. The galactic standard was precise and formal. "I am the memory of my people, you would say archivist." "Wren Vale," Wren said. "I know who you are," Das said. "Sora has told me." He was quiet for a moment, studying Wren with the golden eyes that all Draviaks seemed to have. "I came to see what kind of creature you were. I find I am still forming an answer." "Take your time," Wren said. Something in the old face shifted. Not quite a smile, more like the recognition of something expected. "You helped her without being asked," Das said. "Without treaty, without obligation, without any understanding of what she was to her people." "She was injured," Wren said. "That was enough." "Yes," Das said slowly, "that is precisely what I mean." He lowered himself with some effort until his head was closer to Wren's level. "I will explain something to you. Among my people there is a concept. It is old. Most of us consider it almost mythological. It is called the Kethvora." "I don't know that word," Wren said. "No translation does it well," Das said. "The closest in your language would be the dead of the sky. It is the name for what is owed to one who carries another when the sky itself refuses to." He paused. "It was given that name because it was originally about flight. When a Draviak cannot fly, they are finished. If someone carries them to where they can fly again, the debt is absolute. It surpasses blood. It surpasses clan." Wren was quiet. "No non-Draviak has ever been owed a Kethvora," Das said. "In 8,000 years of recorded history, it has not happened. We did not think it could." "I didn't know that," Wren said. "Of course not," Das said. "That is part of why it counts." From across the yard, Sora was watching them. She had the look of someone who had said everything she intended to say privately and was now letting the larger conversation happen. "I don't want anything from her," Wren said. "I didn't help her because I wanted a debt." "Exactly," Das said. He said the word with a weight that pressed on the air. "Wren Vale, you did not know what she was, you did not know what it would mean. You had no expectation of return. You simply walked beside something in pain and refused to stop walking." The old Draviak straightened. "You cannot know what that is to us. To see someone act outside every calculation of advantage and loss. We do not have many words for it." "Sora said something like that," Wren said, "that you don't have a word for it." "We are developing one," Das said. "It will probably sound like your name." Wren did not know what to do with that. He looked at the ground for a moment. When he looked back up, Das was watching him with something in his ancient face that Ren had no name for either. Not pity, not admiration exactly, something older than both. "The ones who brought her ship down," Ren said. "Do you know who it was?" "Yes," Das said, "and they will not do it again." He said it the way mountains say things, without anger, without drama, and with the complete certainty of something that has already been decided. Ren nodded. He believed him entirely. Sora left on the 17th day. Her wing was not fully healed months yet before full strength, but she could fly, and that was what mattered. The first test was a low arc over the mineral basin, barely 30 meters up, wings working in slow, careful strokes. She came back down favoring the repaired joint, breathing hard. She did not look triumphant. She looked like herself again. Ren was standing at the yard gate when she walked toward him. The outpost had gone quiet in the way it always did when she moved through it now, not afraid exactly, but attentive. Like the air changed around her and everything nearby adjusted without being told to. She stopped in front of him. There was a lot that could have been said. Ren knew all of it and said none of it. He had learned that Sora did not need words packaged and delivered. She needed them accurate and small. "You are going to be careful," he said. "Yes," she said. "Good." She looked at him for a long moment. The gold eyes moved over his face the way they had that first day in the ravine when she was deciding what he was. She had an answer now. He could see it in the way she held herself, not the coiled tension of those early days, but something settled. She lowered her head, all the way down, nose near the ground, neck curved in a bow that brought the top of her head to his chest level. Ren did not know yet what it meant. Das would tell him later in a message. What she gave you is given only to bloodkin. In 8,000 years, no Draviak has given it to something that was not Draviak. You should know this. But in that moment, he just reached out and put his hand briefly on the top of her head. The way you do with something you are glad is going to be all right. Then she lifted off, slow and strong and very careful. Everyone in the outpost watched her go. Barrow appeared beside Ren. They watched her get smaller against the Veth IV sky. "What happens now?" Barrow said. "I go back to my survey work," Ren said. "The Assembly has filed 4 requests for a debrief. 2 diplomatic offices want statements." "They can wait," Ren said. Barrow almost smiled. "You are a difficult man, Vale." "I'm just a surveyor," Ren said. 6 months passed. Ren finished his survey contract, filed his geological reports, and took 2 weeks on Callus Station where he ate real food and slept in a real bed. He was moderately successful at not thinking about politics. The Assembly summons arrived on the last day. Not a request this time, formal, official, the kind of language used by people who were genuinely uncertain how to handle a situation and had defaulted to ceremony. He went. The assembly chamber was large enough to land a ship in. Ren sat at a small table in the center wearing his survey jacket because nobody had told him to wear anything else, looking out at representatives of 47 species and feeling mostly that he needed a coffee. The Draviak delegation sat on the far side, 3 of them still, formal, watching everything. One was Das, the other had dark blue-black scales. His breath caught, Sora, in a galactic assembly chamber, which had not happened in 300 years. She met his eyes across the room. The gold eyes held his for a moment before moving forward. That was enough. The Draviak envoy, a broad-shouldered elder beside Sora, spoke first. "We do not come for treaties," the envoy said. "We come because one of yours walked beside one of ours. We wish to see what kind of creature does such a thing." The chamber was quiet. "We have studied your kind from a distance for many years," the envoy continued. "We found you loud, frequently foolish, remarkably short-lived, and yet occasionally one of you does something with no strategic value, No survival advantage. Something done only because the alternative was to do nothing, and your kind finds that unbearable. "We do not have many words for this," the envoy said. "We are building new ones for now. The Draviak remember what was done. The sky does not forget." The chamber erupted. Ren looked across the room. Sora was watching him. He raised one hand slightly, a small wave, the kind you give someone across a loud room when words are not worth the distance. She did not wave back, but the set of her jaw changed, very slightly, in a way he had learned to read over 17 days in a red canyon on a colony world. It was as close to a smile as she had. 3 days later, back on Callus Station, a package arrived. No sender. Inside was a single scale, deep blue-black, the color of a sky before full dark, catching the light with a faint iridescent sheen. Das's note was brief. "She wanted you to have this. It means you are worth remembering. Among my people there is no higher thing to say." Ren put the scale in the front pocket of his survey jacket next to his field compass. New contract in 2 weeks. He packed carefully. New boots this time. Somewhere far above, something vast and dark banked on a warm current and turned its gold eyes toward stars it had not visited in a long time. A door had opened in a wall that had stood 300 years, not by governments or warships, but by one quiet human who heard breathing in a ravine and could not walk away. The sky does not forget, and neither did the things that lived in it.